Hi, everybody. Tommy here from Queers and Soaps. I just wanted to introduce you to some friends of mine who are about to embark on some fun soap opera discussion. So tune in and enjoy, and I will see you soon.
Hello and welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Eric and this is Bevan.
Hey,
Um, we are bringing to you Dallas today, so more Dallas. We're on season 2, episode 16 to 20. Tom, you roll the credits and we'll get into it. All right. So these episodes are great. I feel like these are pretty excellent episodes. We have so I guess Connie got recasted. Did you notice?
I didn't know. I just noticed that it was the Connie that I recognized.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the other Connie was only, I think, in like 3 to 5 episodes, something like that. And then this one
Yeah.
takes over for a few years, I think. Um, so her name is, I don't know if you pronounce it Jenna or Gianna because it's Jeanna. You think
Yeah.
it's Gianna Michaels?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I found out she died in 2018, sadly. She played on Young and the Restless as Karen from 81 to 82, and she was Connie on General Hospital from 83 to 84, which I'm actually watching 83 right now. And she's on, and she's good on there too. And she plays, it's funny that she plays Connie on Dallas and Connie on General Hospital,
Yeah.
both playing
Yeah.
Connies. So, okay, season 2, episode 16, Julie's Return. Good at. We start out with Tina Louise comes back. It also says also starring Ken Kercheval and Tina Louise. Um, Julie calls the restaurant wanting to talk to Jock. Miss Ellie and Sue Ellen are having a meeting with Daughters of the Alamo. Do you remember if that led to anything, or is it just like what is it? Like just book parties? What do they do?
I think that's all it really was. Like, it was just to sort of show them, like, doing what they do, like, outside of all that sort of
Like,
stuff.
yeah, like I never understood. They're just like constantly having meetings, but they never do anything.
Well, it's all like, isn't it all like charity fundraising and stuff like that? So it's
I guess
yeah, it would just be like event planning and stuff, wouldn't it? Like community event
they.
planning.
I wonder if they plan the oil barons ball and stuff. I don't remember. I guess we'll
I
watch
mean, I
once
don't think
we.
they specifically say it, but it's like, I mean, it's a type of committee that would do that sort of stuff. So yeah,
I don't even know when the oil barons ball comes because I don't think it's in this season. So I know, but I
I think
know
it's
it's a
like
pretty
season
regular thing.
6 or 7.
6, really? I didn't remember it starting that late. And then there's the yearly barbecues usually, right? There's usually a
Well,
barbecue
that
and
starts to become more of a tradition again, I think, in season 5.
okay. Um, Lucy's having a pool party and everybody's kind of treating Jock like he's fragile. Like she's like so like somebody bumps into the grill and then Jock goes to move it, but then they're like, so we're seeing like Jock's kind of getting upset because he's like, I don't know, everybody's treating him shitty. Not shitty, but you know what I mean. Um at dinner, like Miss Ellie gets on him about no salt. He asks JR about business. JR seems to have everything under control. He wants to drop in on the meeting. JR's like, nah, you don't have to. Um, Jack wants to update as well because I guess the new heir coming or whatever. Um, he gets mad at them. He's like, I'm not an invalid. Poor guy. Go ahead. You have
Well,
something to
so like, I guess it's like, they sort of show it from Jock's perspective of being like frustrated and stuff, but everybody else does see him as someone who's just had like a huge heart operation, and even though it's kind of like It's sort of like an episode of like Jock's midlife crisis, even though it's past
Yeah.
midlife and it's not that really. Um, but like he even goes back to the office with JR, I think in like a scene or two ahead, and all the guys, all the young fellas, or JR's age people are sitting there, like, talking about how to approach a problem or a situation or something like that. And Jock's just like, well, why don't we just do this? Like, go in there and do this. And they're like, well, we can't because of like, it's not 30 years ago. There's different regulations, there's different ways to approach things.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up to you. Do you know what fracking is?
Uh, Not really, no.
Okay, because I
I
know
mean,
the guy.
there's stuff that you read in like passing and all that, but it's like nothing. I don't know.
I
It's
have
more
that
like when they use it as like an adjective to describe something they've already done. You know?
Yeah, the guys are talking about they think it's better to frack, which I don't really know what that means. And Jock wants to do nitro, whatever that means, which is I guess the old school way. I think he said nitro. I don't know what
It was
either of
it.
that is. Any oil
Yeah, I'm
people
not sure
might
what either of it is either, but one would probably be being more expensive than the other just because one's more commonly used now. Stuff like that. Like that's definitely something that would be a thing.
fracking almost sounds like criminal to me, but I don't think it is, but maybe it is. I don't know.
I'll look it up.
And
I'll
Jock,
look it up. I should have actually looked it up because I just went, oh, fricking, right notes.
I know, well, see, I always depend on you. I'm like, well, I don't know it, so he should.
Well,
Get by
generally,
him.
I'm
I'm
not too
kidding.
bad, but yeah.
So Jock mentions Punk Anderson, which we haven't seen yet, right? I haven't seen him.
No, no, no,
But
no.
remember, Punk's like his best friend, which we haven't seen.
Yeah, yeah.
But he
Punk
mentions them all
becomes,
the time, I feel like.
I think it's like around season 4 that Punk comes into it because I think Punk's like gone into retirement and he's all married up. And then like he gets the business vibe again or whatever and wants to go to South
But
America with Jock.
but Punk's in it till the end, I believe. I remember him being around
I'm pretty
for
sure he
like
is
in and out.
around. Yeah, like he
Yeah,
cameos and guest stars whenever they need like a
I love
contrived
Punk.
will reading because he's the administrator of or whatever of Jock's will later on in the series. I'm pretty sure. And so
I
like
think the
whenever
guy
they
that
need a
I'm
beg
gonna
your
look
pardon?
him up. I'm gonna look him up in like in the next whatever whenever he pops up.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure he lived up until like a couple years ago, if not recent, because he was doing those Hollywood shows and stuff.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So Jock's all frustrated, whatever. He sets up a dinner by himself. What is the place? The Cattleman's Club? Is that what it is?
I think it might be, but like they don't. I think like they've shown the outside of that restaurant maybe once or something like that. But I don't think any of the places really become staples until like around 3, 4-ish. That's when you start
But
to see it more.
right, and it's the same place that Julie called about. She called and talked to this guy Victor in the beginning of the episode, say, "Hey, if he ever comes
Yeah, it's
around,
definitely
can you
somewhere
give
where
me a
she
call?"
knows that they frequent. Yeah.
Right. And she heads on over because Victor calls her and lets her know, or lets her know that he's going to be at dinner by himself or lunch, whatever. He's happy to see her. She says she's back for good. She apologizes because of everything that went down, with the what was it, the leak of part of the file that she talked, whatever.
Yeah, like it was uh Olaf or whatever it was from first season.
Yeah, yeah,
His payoff
yeah.
over his house and jib jab, all that stuff.
Chip Chap. Um, he's he so they chat about JR. He says that he doesn't do much anymore, and they go shopping together. At the ranch, everybody's worried about Jock because I guess he's usually home by a certain time, but he's not. He's probably home all the time because he doesn't do anything.
He's just out on the ranch
Um,
sometimes with Ray.
yeah. He meets up with Julie again, I guess the next day. Um, and she has like a job interview of some sort.
Yeah, Julie
God,
seems to have a lot of job interviews, but she's always at like pricey lunches and stuff like that prior, or like meeting up with Jock, or like there's always some yeah.
yeah. Bobby and Pam are at the same place, and Bobby forgives Julie, like what's past is past, whatever, because Bobby's so cool. I forget how much I crush on Bobby in these early seasons. Like,
He's so
he's so
forgiving.
cute.
Yeah,
He's
he's
so
so
cute.
cute
He's
and
so
forgiving
forgiving
and
and
not
so
jaded
nice.
yet.
He wants everybody to get along, and like it's good stuff.
Yeah, he genuinely,
Um,
he just has to sort of deal with Jay. He only thinks that it's sort of sweet, like in a way, he just thinks that it's like, oh, all I really have to deal with is the fact that JR doesn't like my wife. And it's like, it just festers so much. And I guess that goes back to what you were saying pretty much off and on the whole time is they're not all great at communication and everybody should be talking more.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, as we'll see in these episodes. Although they communicate pretty well, I feel like in these episodes. But it's
Yeah, no,
almost
these are
like the
the
beginning
better
of the end.
episodes, I think. I think these are the better
hmm
episodes for it.
They are. They are. So Julie gets flat. Oh, well, before that, Bobby and JR talk. He mentions that Julie's back. JR thinks that Jock and Julie are having an affair because that's immediately where his brain goes because that's what he would
Well,
do.
yeah, yeah. He's sort of shocked to know that Julie's sort of like hanging around with Jock, and it's like, I wonder what that's about. And then Bobby's like,
Right.
well, it's crossed my mind too, but it can't be that. Come on. And JR's just like, yeah, well, I know that lady, and I know what she like,
Yeah, because he's a dirty dog.
pretty
So
much,
Julie gets flowers. JR appears out of nowhere.
like he does.
He says he misses her. What are you doing with my daddy?
Yeah,
Um, she's like, she treats Jock like a man, and everybody else treats him like he's this fragile little bitch, I guess.
yeah. I treat him
Um,
like a man. I bet you do, or something like he says something like that. It's just awful to her.
oh, no, he says that's always your specialty. I had to make note of
Ah,
that.
there we go. Yes.
He deserves a flag. Oh, and then I made a side note. Intense music. So there's like this music going on, and she brings up the red file. You think I'm going to tell him about the red file? And apparently
Yeah.
that's when I don't know if that's when we find out JR forged as well, or did we already know that?
No, I think it was like pretty implied and stuff like that, but
It
it's
was
pretty much
implied.
known. But I think at this point, I think by the audience, I don't think certain characters know. Like
Okay.
obviously the family, but like as far as like who knows amongst the characters, um, yeah. And I don't even think Jeb Ames and Willie Joe Gar think it's fake. I think they just think that it's like a contingency that he's hiding that JR's sort of like keeping away from like Miss Ellie, obviously, and stuff like that, like a
Yeah.
secret within the family. Because just the way they talk about it and stuff like that. But yeah,
Um, Jock and JR talk about Julie. Jock yells at him and storms off because I guess because he basically blamed him or said that he was having an affair.
mm.
JR tells Miss Ellie about Julie. She shuts him down. She's like, "You won't mention this to anyone ever again." I love
Old timey
that.
wimey thing. Don't say anything. I'll deal with it. Which she like. To be
Yeah,
fair, she does sort of approach pretty directly. Like
she does.
as soon as she sort of suspects that there might be something going on, she queries. I actually think Miss Ellie does this in a way that's like she queries and sees how he reacts, and that's where the problem becomes because she's like, how are they friends? How are they connecting? Because I don't
hmm
believe that he's sleeping with her.
Yeah. So I have that Jock blows off Miss Ellie. She has
Yes.
Julie. She has Julie over. Um, she says the relationship with Jock has gone too far. Julie explains, we keep each other company and all this stuff, and we go shopping together and we confide in each other. And
They
she
talk
seems
about
to
their
think,
families, they talk about their feelings, and they basically talk to each other legitimately, like connect that way.
and Julie doesn't see a problem with it, but Miss Ellie thinks that it's more serious than she thought because basically that's a relationship, right?
Well, it is like so,
Yeah,
especially okay. So, like, I think that these days, and even like, or even those days, it would have been hard for like women to potentially have legitimate friendships with men that weren't based around sort of sex, a bit like it would be now. Just more defined roles, I guess. So like I think that Julie's probably seeing it for the value of the friendship,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there's this knowingness about it, even when Jock ends up talking to Julie about it, and it's what Miss Ellie mentions, and it's the idea that yes, there is the friendship, but even Miss Ellie says she's young and she's beautiful, like something will happen, and
Yeah,
Julie's not like, I know that they make out Julie's like a big old slut, but she's not really. Like, she even cares about JR. He might be married, but she cares about the dude.
right. Oh well, yeah, because of what we're gonna see soon.
Yeah, she's just not like, I just like the way they talk about her. I'm like, oh god, come on, guys. Like, she's not
I
just some
know,
old tramp throwing it around.
I know, right? Right. Um, Bobby and Jock talk. He says there's nothing going on. Miss Ellie comes in. She says she wants it to stop.
Mm,
She says it won't stop there. He says he has other plans for dinner. She says that
yeah.
like she's trying to force him to come to dinner. He's like, no, I have other plans. So it's not
Yeah.
looking good for Miss Ellie. I have at dinner. It's pretty quiet. JR talks shit about Julie. Miss Ellie shuts him down once again,
And
and Bobby
cries.
goes,
She does that
yeah,
blubbery thing where she's like, ah, and runs away.
yeah. And Bobby goes to hit him, and Pam stops them as the usual dinners.
Yeah.
Um, she goes to Miss Ellie to talk, and they bring up the horsewhip story that we saw. When was that? Season one, or was it
Yeah,
the
she
first few
mentions it
episodes
in
of the
season
season?
one, I think.
I love these things. I love continuity, like when they do shit like that. I love it. I even put like horsewhip story from Jenna Wade episode, so that's when it was. So
Yeah.
I guess that was earlier in season two.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's like the first few episodes.
Jock goes to Julie's. He gives her a necklace. She's like, "Is that a goodbye present or whatever?" He says it would hurt Miss Ellie if he continues, and he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Miss Ellie goes to Julie's. And I love that Jock goes, "You got your horsewhip with you?" And then they basically kind of make up, and he says he's sorry, whatever. They kiss and leave. Um, JR, oh, JR comes into Julie's. You can end the episode. Go ahead.
Well, like,
Remember how it ended?
it should be sort of like the episode does sort of end with them sort of being like, "Ooh, get back together." But like, there is this thing that they play on, particularly in the next episode. It's like a not a foreshadowing, but it starts here, where there is this thing where JR's like, he wants to be with her again, and she wants to be with him again, and that is partially why she sort of made an effort to sort of keep around. Like, yeah, she made friends with Jock and she wanted to apologize, but she was kind of backdoor hoping to run into him. But JR, while also wanting that, is aware that she still has all this info or potential info and wants to know about that. So,
Well,
like,
it
beg your
ended
pardon?
with JR and like going to kiss her, and she says she doesn't want him, and then ends up kissing. It's the same weird shit with Sue Ellen that he does. That's what I was like. He's so fucked
The
up.
weird sex thing. The weird sex thing. But yeah,
Like,
no, so like there's that whole underlying thing. So like while it's like a heavy jock centered episode, JR
yeah,
is kind of like, he doesn't, it's just it's a weird dynamic. It's like this weird sort of like, I'm gonna wreck this for you, but I also want your like, it's just, yeah, it's JR being his disgusting contradicting self.
yeah. So episode 17, the Red File Part 1. We finally find out what this freaking Red File is.
That they've been alluding to since season one,
Yeah.
which arguably
Um,
isn't that long considering it's only a short season. Who the hell am I knowing? Anyway.
yeah. That's all right. JR and Julie are walking on the pier. They talk about her betrayal from the previous season. He asks how Cliff rates on a scale of 1 to 10, which I thought was kind of funny. And they kind of just laugh it off. Um, Cliff is talking to a Mr. Maxwell. Um,
Glenn Maxwell.
who is it? Glenn?
Glenn Maxwell.
Oh, I thought it was Ben. It's Glenn.
No, what was it? He's like, I'm pretty sure it's Glenn. I could be wrong. It could be Ben, but it's definitely Maxwell.
It ends with an EN, and that's
Yeah.
Maxwell. I just keep calling him Mr. Maxwell because that's what they usually say. So they chat. They want to basically bury J.R. Ewing. Cliff calls Pam. Someone bugs Cliff's phone. which we
Oh
find out
well,
it's
Cliff
good.
is they're talking. So Cliff's talking to those representatives or whatever, and like it's basically like a summary of Cliff, more or less, like saying, "I'll do what you want," but he's like actively telling them, "I'm going to use it to wreck Ewing Oil," sort of thing. So like,
Yeah,
it's just that thing. Yeah, I just meant like as far as like the organization is sort of just they're just okay with his vendetta because he's going to be doing what they want.
yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
sorry, keep going. I just wanted to add that just because it
no,
creates a
you're
little bit of
fine.
like a context to the relationship, especially like later on in Cool Girl, that's all.
Right. So Ray and Bobby are talking. They mention the Garnet shit, and Ray ends up talking shit about JR, even though he just like kind of helped them in one of the other episodes. I guess that's family. You know, you just accept the crazy shit for what it is. Um, Ray found proof that there was oil drilling on what is it, Section 40,
Yeah,
Station
Section
40.
40.
And they're looking for a guy, Charlie Waters, to prove it.
Yeah,
Um,
so he was apparently one of the workers on the Ames and Gar team. So he was one of the dudes that was supposed to basically clean it up and he didn't do it properly. So yeah,
right.
or at least one of them.
Cliff has a meeting for a dossier against Ewing Oil. I don't know what a dossier is.
Oh, a dossier.
Yeah,
So
I don't know what
isn't that
that
just a big file?
is. Is it? I guess so.
I thought it was just like a big like a dossier, like
So,
a proper investigative file.
so they just want to basically fill the file with a ton of shit against Ewing Oil, basically, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
We find out that O'Neill is a traitor and calls JR. That's one of the guys that were in the office with Cliff.
Ah,
Um,
yeah. Okay. So in that committee meeting, they're sitting there joking about like Cliff's like sitting there going, "Okay, this is the role. This is the role. We approve the projects. We'll see which ones are deserving." And then they're like, "Oh, it's going to piss off a lot of the independents." And he's just like, "Oh no, well, if their projects are viable, blah blah blah." And they're like, "Well, what about Ewing Oil? Your whole biz isn't unknown. They basically cost you the election." And he's just like laughed it off essentially, and he's just like,
yeah,
well, you think I'm going to abuse my power? And then Mr. Guy, what's his name again, the one that's working, called JR.
O'Neill.
Yeah, O'Neill's just like, well, I would, ho ho ho, and they all laugh like it's nothing. And then O'Neill is immediately calling JR in the next scene. So like, yeah, because he's in
Yeah,
charge of that investigation.
yeah. So we have Pam and Cliff meet up. Bobby arrives. Cliff says truce. Bobby brought sandwiches, which I thought was pretty funny. He pulls
Well,
out
just
sandwiches.
anticipating the fact that Cliff is like dirt poor, so he'd probably have to feed himself anyway.
He brought his own food, and they laugh that off. Julie gets home from her time with JR. She notices somebody was like looking around her apartment.
Mm.
And she
Stuff is
says,
moved.
she's like, you'll never find it because you don't know where to look. I love that. Um, Ray gets in a fight. So she knows basically JR is looking for shit in her apartment already.
Yeah,
I like how nobody like is surprised. They're just like, oh, JR. It's
yeah.
just up to no just
It's just what
breaking
he
and entering.
does.
That's what he
It's just a
does.
thing he does. Like,
Um, here's another fight. Ray gets into a fight at a bar. He waits for Bobby to come home. Charlie and friends jumped him. So yeah,
yeah.
people jumped Ray.
So he finds him at the bar. He's like, "Don't you be asking the wrong questions." Ray continues asking the wrong questions, and so he's like, "My oil buddies, my oil field buddies are gonna beat you."
Yeah.
And so they
So he
beat him.
looks pretty. He looks pretty screwed up when they see him.
Yeah, there's nice
um.
bruising and everything. They did well on the old makeup.
Yeah. Cliff and Julie meet up for lunch. He says he wants something on JR. Julie is being watched by what is it, Jeb? I can't. I don't remember which one's which. Jeb and
So
Willie.
I think it's Willie Joe Gar who just happens to be at the
Willie
same
Joe.
restaurant, and he's just turning around like eyeballing her, and she doesn't notice. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's the blonde. Yeah, I think it's Willie Joe Gar because Jeb Ames is the like older looking one.
Okay. I just count them as like one person. Like, oh, there they are again. They travel in a pair.
Yeah. Well, they
Um,
largely do in the show.
yeah, JR meets up with Charlie. He wants him to leave town because Charlie's the one that can prove, whatever on the land, and they're trying to find them.
Yeah, yeah. He's like basically tells him to piss off.
I
And he's
made
like, I
note
don't want
that
it. And he's like, I don't care what you want. You gotta go.
I made note I made note that Sue Ellen's showing. You could tell she looks about 5 to 6 months pregnant, maybe a little more at this point.
And she's all glug gluggy a lot. Like pretty much every scene, even in the background, I've noticed she's got a drink in her hand.
I love the music for her. Did you ever notice she has like her own music? It's like I'm always like, oh, that's the Sue Ellen music. I think it stays for like at least 4 or 5 seasons, from what I remember. Um, I put Bobby talks to somebody about Charlie Wooders. Jock said he fired that guy years ago. So I guess he's working for JR, right? Or like Willie, Joe, and Jeb.
Oh, the Waters guy. He was on the Jeb
Yeah,
Ames Willie Joe Gar team. So he was one of the guys doing the oil testing, and I think he was supposed to be one of the cleanup dudes, but he screwed it up.
right. I have that. Jeb and what's his name? Willie Joe are waiting for JR. They are disturbed that the oil came in 10,000 barrels in a day. I don't understand this talk. I don't, sounds good to me. I don't know. I wouldn't be upset. Maybe they
Well,
expect money.
what was the estimate? What was the estimate of like the Ewing oil section? They said something like it was like 7 or 8 thousand barrels a day or something like that. Because
Um,
they could fill. I can't remember. We were talking about it lot in one of the previous episodes, but like I can't remember. It was a little bit less than this one that they're talking about, but like it was. They still said no. This is a big well, and I think it was still like 7 or 8 thousand, something like that.
so 10,000 should be good, no?
Yeah, 10,000 seems bigger than what they've got for Ewing Section 40, at least by the estimate. But like, yeah, they always say it's an estimate, but they reckon that there's heaps down there. So arguably, it could be more than that.
So they fill JR in about Julie seeing Cliff because they're
Yeah,
concerned because she knows everything that they did. JR talks to Julie about Cliff. He wants her to go back on the payroll to hook up with Cliff. So basically pimping her out
yeah. Oh, he
because
does
that's what he
allay
does.
Jeb Ames and Joe Gar's fears because they mention that like they start doing the passive threat thing in the meeting where they're like, "Oh, without us, she wouldn't have all this, this pull in the cartel." And JR's like, okay. Then that well comes in, the one that they were having dramas with, and then they bring up Julie as like a side note because they're like happy about this well. And they're like, what if she says something? And JR's just like, well, it doesn't even matter if she talks, she has to have proof because he knows Cliff won't
Yeah,
do anything without proof, which is true. And so he
yeah,
lays that, and then yeah, we go to the next thing. I just thought that it makes because they're still not too happy about it. And after
yeah,
that, and I think it's like a little side scene after that, uh, they go and speak to the dudes who have tapped Cliff's phone and are just like, yeah, just let us know if anything particular comes along.
yeah. So yeah, I have JR's guys are watching Cliff. They tell Bobby about. Oh, I was confused at this. They tell Bobby about hitting oil, and then I put panhandles because I don't know what they
Uh,
said.
that was just the that was just the name of the property. Like it was just like a big
Oh,
salt. Like he said something about it a few episodes ago, like a big fucking chunk of rock that they had to drill into that was giving them dramas. And they'd done a few holes and had been trying for a while and hadn't come in, but it has come in now. So
see,
yeah,
anytime
Panhandle was just the name.
the business stuff that comes, I just don't get it. I'm like, um, Bobby brings up Wooders, and he acts like he has no idea what he's talking about. Like, I don't know that guy for JR.
Yeah,
Julie calls Cliff. She says she's ready to sell. She takes a key off the bottom of a jewelry box. Um, plays tape for Ames. Is that what I said? Julie brings
Okay,
the key
so
to
the monitoring guys, the ones who have tapped the phone, they've obviously come across the call that Julie's made to Cliff because
right.
it's on his phone. And so they've immediately contacted Ames and Thingo and just played the call back to them over the phone.
Right. Oh, okay. So that must have happened right before she brought the key to the mailbox. She happens to
Yeah,
have
so
a
it's like
mailbox.
it's like as she's doing all that, this is sort of going down at the same time or around the same time because it's not long, and then they just show up.
I wish I had a mailbox right across the hall because that would be. But she has a mailbox. She's able to just go across the hall, put it in the mailbox, and then go back. I guess her building takes care of the mail. These episodes happen quick. Like I feel like it was like boom, boom, boom. Like usually, I don't know, things drag a little bit. This did not drag, none of it.
No, they dragged a bit later. It's just because they're trying to tell because it's a two-parter. They're literally forcing in like the full 40 minutes. So there's like even a bit of a time skip in this episode without them really saying anything because it's just you know yeah,
Yeah.
just for the purposes of how they needed to get through the key parts of the plot.
So Ames shows up at Julie's. He says, "You should move. It's time to move on. You got
Yeah, they
five
don't
minutes to
trust her.
pack." She goes to pack and she sneaks out some other door. I feel like there's 25 doors in this apartment. I don't know. Apparently, there's a door in and another door out. I don't know. I don't understand it.
Yeah, so she has like two entries and exit points, I guess, which is a
Yeah,
really good thing to have, I guess. But
I guess
what kind
so
of
in this situation.
yes. But anyways,
Yeah, so she sneaks out. She goes to the stairwell, runs upstairs. Somebody's waiting downstairs, so she can't run down. So she heads to the roof. You know where it's
yeah.
going, pretty much. Like I knew, I like when I originally first saw this, though, I was like in shock because I didn't know what was going on, and I'm like, it's Ginger Grant. You can't kill Ginger Grant from Gilligan's Island.
I sort of did think that she was going to stick around for a bit longer, but then she just goes, "Wah!"
So I tried to look it up to see why she left. I don't get any answers when I look it up. I'm thinking she probably just didn't want to do a regular series. She probably
Yeah.
just liked doing what she wanted to do whenever she wanted to do it. Because there would be usually there'd be like, oh, they killed her off because something there was like nothing. So Cliff gets to Julie's as this is all going on. Um, she goes to the roof, she runs away, whatever. One of them get a hold of her. He slaps her. She struggles and falls off the building.
Yeah.
Splat. Um, breakfast the next day. Um, JR's in his safari jacket. Always make note of that.
Again.
Again, he loves that thing. I wonder if he had like 20 of them or just one that they just like cleaned all the time.
Yeah, he probably just cleans
Um,
it.
and so Jock says Julie's dead. I guess it's in the paper. Um, JR takes the paper and goes off by himself and has a drink. Oh, there's still more. So fun. Um, cops go to Cliff's. They ask Cliff to go with them. He was seen at Julie's. Oh, there was a guy, I forgot. There was a woman in like the elevator, like when Cliff was
Oh
going up
yeah,
there.
yeah. Like all the
That's
casual
important to
witnesses
mention.
of the building and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, they want to talk to him, just question him, whatever. JR finds out about Cliff being there and he's like, oh, he killed her. Of course, whatever.
He's got a terrible temper.
Um, yeah, tells the cops to check his machine because he knows about the message on the machine.
Isn't this the
Uh,
first time we see Norm McSween as well?
oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like
JR's
I know
cop,
he. Yeah, the
the
dirty
cop
cop.
that yeah,
That's like yeah.
dirty dog cop. Yep. Pam goes to Cliff in jail. Cliff fills her in. JR taps his phone, so he's aware. Pam comes into the family, goes off on JR. She starts packing, needs time alone. She leaves. JR says no loss. Sue Ellen goes off on JR.
Mm.
That's all I got for that episode.
Well, it's also that JR does legitimately seem to think that Cliff is guilty because he's just like, oh, it doesn't matter if he gets the death penalty, he's guilty, sort of thing,
He does not think Cliff's guilty. You can tell in the way he looks. He doesn't think it. He just wants to accuse him because he hates him. That's all.
I mean, he
And
does hate him.
honestly, Cliff would probably do the same. Like he would be like Jared did it.
Yeah, at
So I
this point,
mean,
I think Cliff, yeah. Like, Cliff's not as, like, underhanded yet as he does get, but I still
it's
feel like he's at a
coming.
point where he would probably just let him go, like, let him die.
It's coming. So episode 18, Red File Part 2. I wrote Part 2 twice. Don't know why. Because I didn't see that I wrote it the first time. Anyway, Miss Ellie and Jock, they talk about stuff. She comes to Bobby. Um, he says he would resign from the Ewings, which I like that line. Miss Ellie says Digger would have turned out to be the mess that he was, even without Jock being around, because they're all trying
Yeah,
to
so, like,
defend Digger.
Bobby's having, like, a little bit of, like, identity moment there where he's just like, God, my family sucks. Like, that would just be so much easier if, like, we didn't have to deal with this shit. And then, like, all of it, you know?
Right.
And, yeah, Ellie's just like, well, Digger's an alcoholic and always was, so
Yeah, I feel like she's right. I do feel like she's right in that
I do
situation.
too, unfortunately.
Bobby calls Pam, because she left. Liz forces Pam to take a leave of absence, and Bobby wants to see her. I have note that JR is still in his safari shirt, so I guess it's still the same day.
I
These
mean, he
days
wears
get
it often
confused.
enough, it could literally just be the next week.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, this is the episode that moved like this. Like they're already in court, like shit's going down like quick.
Yeah, yeah.
So he and Sue Ellen talk. She says he must feel good about getting Cliff put in jail. Says she's easily disposable like an oil lease. Good old JR says, which was,
Classy remarks.
dude. Um, Bobby and JR talk. He doesn't give Bobby any info that he set up Cliff. Clearly, he's going to hide that. Um, Jeb and Willie Joe mention Julie having something on JR. He says no, that wouldn't happen, whatever. Like she would not, she doesn't have anything on, but he knows that she does,
Yeah.
or did at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, well.
Um, Bobby wants, Bobby wants Pam home. She can't be there with JR in the house. She doesn't want to be near him or see his face. I don't blame her.
Yeah.
Bobby wants, Bobby wants to see Cliff. It says he wants to help. Cliff says go find who did it if you want to help. So we're already in court.
Yep.
The next minute. Like this is like I said, it's really quick. Because usually this would play out in like 7 episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so in court they have an expert witness, like some doctor that says she had bruises and stuff on her arms. So it looked like there was a struggle and she was hit. They question a lieutenant and another dude I put because I didn't know who it was. Um, what lawyer? The Cliff's lawyer asked if they found fingerprints in the stairwell, and they did not find Cliff's fingerprints, but they found Julie's. So that right there should say something, but whatever. This judge sucked, by the way. I felt like they were like badgering witnesses, and like Cliff's lawyer was like objection, objection, and like he got overruled every time. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
Sue Ellen JR are sitting in court. She wants to leave. He's like, no, you'll stay by my side. He gets called as a witness, which I feel like I don't really understand why he would get called
Um,
because he didn't.
Probably because like they all know each other by proxy and stuff. So like Julie's dead. She worked for JR.
Yeah, like
She stole
not years
files
ago,
and
but
she stole files. It just so he's being used to like drive home the idea that Cliff would have reason to kill Julie.
oh, okay.
yeah, so like, it's just because he hates JR. Julie had all the files, is known, and that's why they mention like, oh, she was supposed to have stolen files from your company. Would these files have made Cliff look bad? Yada yada yada. And he's like, well, in a certain light, they could have. Like JR's very diplomatic about it, but it's all the implications. Which
Yeah.
is the point. Which is the point, because ultimately, and they make mention of this often a couple of times, even I think by this point, is that the prosecution wants to bring in the answering machine tape, which they can't obviously do at the moment because
Yeah.
it's technically illegal reasoning. Like it was illegally
Right.
put in there.
Right. Right. Yeah, they bugged them.
Yeah,
So, Cliff wants to send Pam for like his mail and stuff. He hasn't like been there. I guess it's been like a week or two at least.
it would have
Um,
to be for all of the paperwork to even be processed.
Bobby says like stay here with Cliff. I'll go and get it, whatever. And Cliff trusts Bobby. It seems at this point. This is why I get mad at Cliff in like the next episode. It gets on my nerves because I'm like I get it, but really like this guy helped you out here, so we'll get to that. But
Yeah,
so he brought Cliff his mail and he brought a shirt for him, like whatever. Um, and Cliff finds the letter from Julie. Cliff gives Bobby the key, and we find out that when Bobby gets there, it's a suitcase with all this stuff in it, files, like everything that JR ever did, like evil things, whatever, payoffs from other people involved, all that jazz.
yeah, all of it.
Pam testifies. Um, they bring up Cliff's affair with Sue Ellen, but nobody says Sue Ellen's name or anything. They kind of keep her out of it. Or this, and well, they said that that's an affair, so I guess you don't really know. You're assuming Julie or whatever, somebody else.
Yeah, so like they don't. Yeah, they ask who he was fighting, who she was arguing with Cliff over. And she was like, was it an affair with Julie? And she's like, oh no, it was another one or something. She doesn't really go into it.
Yeah,
But she's like, no, it wasn't
so
over
yeah.
Julie.
And then Cliff doesn't like let his lawyer question Pam at all, which is smart, and because he's a good brother sometimes.
Mm,
Sometimes.
yeah, not later,
Um,
but sometimes.
not in 2 episodes, but
No,
sometimes. Um, gosh, I can't read my word. Bobby gives um oh, he gives the secretary the day off and then he confronts JR because he knows what's in the suitcase now. Puts
yeah,
the suitcase on his desk. That's where we find out it's payoffs, pictures, Jock's will forgery, everything's in this thing. Um they talk to Dan Marsh. Who's Dan Marsh? Oh, that's the detective, right? Don Marsh? Dan Marsh?
I think he's the tapper, isn't he?
Oh yeah. And he plays stupid. They bring up Jeb and Willie Joe, calls him garbage, and walks out.
Yeah, because he basically knew that Jeb Ames and Willie Joe killed Julie, and didn't say anything.
Yeah, those fuckers. Oh, I was trying not to say the F-bomb on here anymore. So hard. Bobby makes sure Willie Joe and Jeb don't leave town. He threatens them. He arrives at the airport. He stops them from going, forces them to go to the police with the information that he has in the suitcase, because I guess they would be in there a lot longer um, if he shows what they have on them.
Well, because it'll look like murder rather than an accident. Because all the files there
Right,
are only files that will implicate them. All the files that Bobby will pass over, all the files that pertain solely to their deals.
right. It would look like she was blackmailing them, which would make
Yeah, yeah.
them have
And
motive for
yeah,
killing
it
her.
would definitely look like they killed her. Like deliberately.
I mean, they pretty much did, but whatever. I don't think we see these guys again, right? Are they done?
No, they come back.
Oh, okay, I don't remember. Um, Cliff gets off. Like in the next scene, he's already done. Pam
Yeah,
says, pick her up at the hotel. JR gives a copy of the will to Bobby and they burn it, right? Is that when they burn it?
yeah, all copies of the will.
Yeah.
So I think there's like the photocopy and then the original that JR has.
And he's more
And that's
upset that it wrecked his business with the cartel. You
Well,
don't
yeah,
care.
because Ames and Guy will be in prison and all that. It kind of means that he doesn't have the influence. He'd have to barter and work, actually wheel and deal more.
He lost a little power. Meh.
Yeah, poor old JR.
Uh, Pam needles Bobby for info. She can't come back to Southport because of JR. He walks off. So yeah, this is what gets on my nerves with Pam sometimes because I'm like, whatever.
This is all the mild stuff. She just needs a little bit of time to get over shit and like not have his overbearing family like pressuring them, you know?
I get it, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I'm
Just
just like,
move
get over
out.
yourself.
Just move
Whatever.
out. It is the
Or move to
solution. It would be the solution to a lot of their problems is if they just moved the hell out of that goddamn house. But they never
well,
do. Like, do you know
you
how
know,
much easier toxic family is to deal with when you're not living with
mhm.
them? So much
you know,
easier.
you know what would have made sense though if they had those two houses across the way. They could live
Yeah.
in a separate house. Whatever, but they're not spoken of anymore after season one. All
No,
right, so
no.
episode 19, we have Sue Ellen's sister. Colleen Camp returns to the role of Kristen. Um, Lucy feels like she's being ignored by Jack, so we're feeling this Lucy shit again. As you said, like they didn't know what to do with her, and I guess that's why, because she seems fine one minute, and then the next minute she's feeling ignored.
Yeah.
Um, this almost made me think that Kristen and Lucy would get along, but they don't. But they're both ignored sisters, as you know, or not sister, whatever. You know what I mean? We see that Kristen and um, JR are giving goo goo eyes to each other as they're like playing games, whatever. Sue Ellen thinks JR is up to something, and he's like, "Why would I be up to something? I don't do that." Like he acts all weird. I'm like, "What is happening?" And then she's like, "Oh, you're not? Like what?"
Yeah, it's all very weird.
I already made note that Kristen seems envious of Sue Ellen, which she is because we see that later on.
Yeah.
Um, oh yeah. Oh no, we see it now. They have the conversation now. She basically holds a grudge. She was like second to Sue Ellen all growing up. Why can't you be like Sue Ellen? Why can't you do this like Sue Ellen and that like Sue Ellen? And she doesn't like Sue Ellen because of it, which whatever. She just wants to marry a rich man, which their mom pretty much groomed them to do.
Yeah.
And she asks about Bobby and Pam, so you know she's got her eyes set on Bobby. Which who wouldn't?
That's the whole reason why she's there. JR invited her. JR invited her while Pam was away. Like it's all implied. Like they don't really go into that part. But like since
Right.
this episode and the last episode, Kristen has shown up and Pam and Bobby aren't living together. So, it's just a setup
Yeah.
because he wants Bobby to forget about Pam.
Other JR antics. Because he
Yeah.
thinks everybody's like going to be a dirty dog like he is.
Well, yeah, he does.
Um, so Cliff calls Sue Ellen and like he just wants some information because he's trying to get at JR and Jock or
Yeah,
whatever,
like
or JR
anything he
mainly.
can still, yeah.
And what does she tell him? I didn't write it down. Do you remember?
Um,
She gives him a
so it
tidbit
was
like of Jock
basically
and
it was basically that Jock was fussing over a particular deal, a land deal. He wanted to secure the land so they could drill. And he was having issues. And so she basically said that if it's important to Jock, that JR put it on his priority list. And it's on the Kessel land?
Kessel, yeah.
Kessel, yeah. Um, yeah, so apparently there's like one dude that's like holding out as far as the buyout goes, and because they need the whole lot signed for before they can drill, he's pretty much the last one. And is holding it because he's feeling like he's being undercut, which
And
he
he is.
is, apparently.
Bobby and Pam meet up. He feels like he's dating his wife and he's upset about it. He's just like, come home.
Yeah.
Come on, lady. What are you doing? And I'm the same way. I'm like, come on, dude. It's been like, well, I think we're supposed to be weeks at this point, but who knows? We never get timelines. Um,
No.
so Cliff basically looks into what Jock and JR are doing. Um, what is it, Kessel? Is that what we said?
Yeah.
He's telling Kessel to hold out on them, don't do anything until like he wants to try to buy it for Digger, he says, which he's not. He's just using Digger's name basically to buy it for him, but whatever.
Yeah.
Um, Jock brings up about the dude. He keeps getting on JR about getting the lease from Kessel. I guess it's like important. I guess, like you said, he's the last one standing. Um, Cliff wants to borrow $10,000 from Pam, which he knows that she'll get from Bobby, which is fucked up.
Yeah. Pam
They
doesn't want
already
to ask
know.
for money at the moment because of where they're
Hmm.
at. And I mean, Bobby don't care. But, like, yeah, she doesn't want to do that thing and ask for money.
Yeah, Digger's missing, apparently. I don't think he is, but he just
Again.
made it up. Yeah, well, that's what he said, but I don't know if I believe him. He's just probably just
No,
trying to get the
probably not.
money.
No.
She asked Bobby. He says he doesn't care. Of course, you can have the money. Money's not important because he loves her so. My next scene, I've got Bobby in red Speedos.
Yeah, the red Speedos.
Sexy beast. Um, Lucy catches Kristen acting like Sue Ellen. Remember, Sue Ellen was walking around the house looking like she's lady of the manor, and Kristen was doing the same. Um, Kristen hangs with Bobby in the pool. They're like just swimming around, playing around, just like he treats her like like he does Lucy. Um, Sue Ellen confronts JR, says, "Don't use my sister for your silly little games," because she already knows what he's up to. Sue Ellen has a meeting, asks if she asks Kristen if she's interested in Bobby. Kristen asks Bobby to go into Dallas. She says everybody's busy, I can't get there, and I want to go look around, whatever, just to spend time with them. I don't blame her. Um, Cliff. So I was confused by this too. So I thought Cliff gave the 10,000 in a cashier's check to Kessel. So if he gave that money, why did Kessel? Well, I guess we'll talk about that in a minute. But I was confused because I thought he already got paid for this lease from Cliff.
Wait, what?
Didn't he give a cashier's check to Kessel? Remember he went and he signed the lease over? Cliff.
Ah, okay, so I don't really
Or
think he
did I
signed the
miss?
lease over so much as he bought a stake in it. So, like, it was because it was to tide over old mate until the deal would go through, because old bloke was getting skint on money, like he was running out of money, and he's like, I can't really hold out for too long because I'm broke and I need the
So
check,
he, so Cliff paid him off to hold out longer. Is that what
Essentially,
happened?
yeah, yeah. So,
Okay.
like, I think Cliff
I was
bought a
confused
stake
by
in
that.
it. Like, Cliff definitely bought a stake in it, so I think the
Okay.
old fellow would have given him some out of it, but it was just essentially an advance from what I can gather. But yeah,
Oh,
I'm pretty
okay.
sure Cliff bought a stake in the land, so he'd be making some money out of it, but not as much as the actual old guy would be.
I told you with this business shit, I'm just like in left field. I'm like, dude.
I'm not sure about how the legalities of buying a stake or essentially putting an advance on a sale or something like that, how that would work
Right.
exactly. But I
Yeah.
know that things like that exist, but I'm not exactly sure how they work.
I have no
I've never had to
idea.
do it, so yeah.
But JR finds out about because he's not getting the lease because he's holding out or whatever. He goes to Bobby. He tells Bobby that the money came from Pam. Kristen goes to the office. JR takes her in. Um, Tells her that Bobby's never been happier that she's hanging around. To just egg that on a little bit.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
Bobby goes to Pam to tell her that Cliff used the money. He's like, time for you to grow up, Pamela. And it's true. It is. They're like, get your shit together, girl.
Mhm.
Jock gets on JR about this lease. Like, I guess it's, it has to happen. Bobby says he'll take care of it because, Bobby's the better dude and he'll do it like nicely. And I don't know. You just get like that puppy dog look from Bobby and you're like, okay, sir, I'll do whatever you ask. Pam calls Bobby, uh, wait, what? She says, give Cliff a chance. Oh, yeah, they want to talk to Cliff or whatever. She wants to have
Yeah.
lunch. He says no. Because he's getting frustrated with her. It's been like 2 episodes now. He's mad.
Well,
Um,
like when JR finds out and everything, Bobby knew about the money but didn't realize that it was for. He thought it was for Digger, like Pam did. And so he's like, well, Pam didn't have anything to do with it. And JR's like, well, why don't you wake up to yourself? And so basically, this is to clear that up because he goes to tell Pam what's gone down, and obviously Pam sort of knows, and she's like, well, hell, and she's trying to talk to Cliff about it, but he's avoiding it.
yeah. Um, totally lost my spot. Um, Jack gets. Oh, I already said that. Ooh. Bobby talks to Cliff. He says he will do anything to ruin the Ewings, basically. Um, and Bobby then turns and says, "Well, I might just let I might just help JR ruin you, basically."
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, you keep getting in the middle of everything, like you and JR, blah blah blah. You keep doing it. Well, I've been kind of having to hold JR back a little bit. I'm probably just gonna let him go. Just let him go,
hmm Um, Lucy
which is a
says
fair
Bobby does.
threat.
Lucy says Bobby doesn't mess around. To
Oh, to
um
Kristen, yeah,
to
yeah.
Kristen.
And so she'd have better luck with JR. Lucy's got this. See, this is
Yeah,
the thing. Lucy's got Kristen's number. This is why they don't get along. It's because, like, even though Lucy is who she is and stuff like that, she is a little bit of a brat, but she's not a
right,
terrible person, and she's not trying to break up marriages.
right. Not any. Well, yeah, she's not terrible anymore. She was for a little bit, but
Yes, yes, she did almost get her teacher sent to prison. So yes.
yeah. So Bobby gets to Mr. Kessel and he wants I forget what it was, 21% he offers, which JR was going to offer him 15%. So he
Kessel
gets a
wanted
little more,
25. JR, Bobby settled at 21, which was still
21.
more than JR wanted to give, but something that Kessel was happy with. I'll point
Yeah,
out
because
too
it's
that
better than
Jock
15.
actually, when the boys are all sitting in the office together, Jock agrees with Bobby. There's quite a few moments there where, even in these early years, where like you see that it's talking about that continuity and that vibe of the whole family. Like, there's moments there where Jock really does just shut JR down in favor of Bobby's suggestions.
He does, and that's why I feel like JR is always trying to like do dirty deeds and stuff because then he could go to Jock and be like, "Well, I did this and I got this done." Where, because of those type of things, I feel like Jock causes these problems between these boys. You know what I mean? Like he
But he doesn't mind
very much
relying on
does.
JR when it comes to the bad shit. If it's bad and, Jock doesn't want to get his hands dirty, he's okay with JR taking it
Uh-huh.
over.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like a lot of these little things, and they don't go into it. It's all just glances and exchanges between the two guys. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
it just makes me think of like what it would have been like when JR was like a younger man, like learning it all, and like Jock being able to pick up on that sort of that killer instinct thing, that viciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
JR and Kristen are talking. JR puts his hand on her knee for some reason, like because he's a dirty dog and he wants a piece.
I know the reason.
And Bobby walks in and he's like, she's just a girl. Like, what is your problem? He's like, I know you want her. Like JR is like, I know you want her. He's like, I look at her like Lucy. She's a child. Like, I would never. What else? Um, Let me see. JR, Bobby, and Jock have Kessel come in. He signs the lease. And then I put like, how about diggers? Like, because I thought that, but we cleared that up. He tells JR off before he leaves. Pam walks in on Kessel and Cliff, because so she overhears that Cliff did know about it. Nobody knows that Sue Ellen was the leak, though. She's safe for now. Um, apparently he's been avoiding her. She's pissed off at him. She can't tell the difference between his side and the Ewings anymore. She's like, you're evil, they're evil, everybody's evil. Again, Pam's not growing up. Like, this is the world, girl. This is your world. Like, your brother's a dick now, and so is JR. Get used to it. Um, Pam talks to Bobby about Cliff. JR wakes Kristen up. He's like, oh, Bobby's home. So she goes to him. She kind of comes on to him a little bit, kisses him. He's like, friendship's all I have to offer. And then Lucy's like waiting in the wings. She's like, I told you so. And then I like, she's like, stick around here and you'll end up being a big loser.
And then looks
I
like
love
really
it.
sad and like just has a moment where it's like drinks her milk, and then it's like I watched. I was like, oh, this is a little depressing. Poor Lucy.
Yeah, right. Because, well, yeah, like
Uh,
she's like that too in a way. Well, not as bad as Kristen, obviously, but
no,
Sue Ellen talks to Kristen. She basically says, "Go home." Um,
pretty
she
much.
tells J she tells JR that Kristen's leaving. Bobby and Pam meet up again. They kiss. She says she'll go anywhere with him except South Fork. And he's like, "Well, decide soon," because he's tired of this shit, basically. And I think that's the end of that one. Yep. Any more notes on that one?
Yeah.
We're on episode 20, Call Girl. This is a good episode. I feel like, I don't know. I didn't know exactly what the plan was, but I feel like it's almost a little predictable in a way too.
So it was
Um,
a pretty standard by the numbers one. Like I felt like it was just kind of like a quick sort of way to sort of tie in already existing plot lines, like his issues with Cliff, and the fact that they needed to get Pam back in the house, because obviously this
yeah.
brings Bobby and Pam closer. So yeah,
Well, okay, way to give the end away. But so anyway, Bobby and JR are playing racquetball. I made note of this because my dad used to play racquetball in the 80s. It was like a big thing back then. Do you guys have that there?
I don't know, probably. I don't do a lot of sports, like
I
unless
don't
it's like
know
gymnastics or
sports
athletics,
stuff.
and I really do it.
We don't know sports stuff, but we know what there's what are they called? I'm totally blanking on Bobby. What are they called? Uh his swimwear.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Why am I blanking on a Speedo? Totally
yeah.
blanked on it. But we know what a Speedo is. Although now I guess I don't because I forgot. Um so I do have that Bobby's in shorty shorts. This one with the racquetball. JR brings up like Pam walking out on him, so I guess because Bobby's like playing extra hard and kicking his ass, which is why JR fell on the ground. Um, Ray wants to see Bobby all of a sudden. There's a photo shoot at the store. I guess I don't understand this store. I thought it was like Sears, but it's like they do photo shoots and like modeling and shit.
It's probably
I don't
just
know.
their own catalog, dude. They probably
Um,
just pay for their own catalog.
oh yeah, that makes sense.
Like I just figured it
Um,
would be the store's catalog, like it might be having like a winter sale or something. I mean, it's not winter,
although
but still.
although they go overseas though eventually, so I mean this is one hell of a store.
Well, doesn't
That's
it
why I
just
feel
mean that
like
it's like Sears and it's just a franchise?
I don't know. Maybe we'll get more out of that. I don't know.
I think that's
Um,
unlikely, but okay.
so somebody tells JR, I don't know the guy's name. I put dude tells JR he can't beat Cliff. Dude says Maxwell is clean because I guess they looked him up before. They were probably trying to get
Ah,
back
that's
on him.
like the actual cartel members. So that's
Oh,
like
is
a
that
bunch
who
of
they
the
are?
other. It's Andy Bradley and all them.
All right.
Lee
Well, they
Jordan's
do.
not there, but it's like Andy Bradley, Seth Stone, and a
Yeah,
couple of
Jordan Lee's
others.
not there, and he's a big part of it, so that's weird.
Oh, he's there
Maybe he,
sometimes. He's not there other times.
yeah, I like him the best. Ray and Bobby talk about not understanding Pam because I don't understand her either. Miss Ellie thinks Pam will come home eventually. I don't know why I mean some of these notes are weird. I have Leanne, who was played by Veronica Hamill, who was a big actress here. I don't know if there was a series there. I'm totally blanking on. Oh, Hill Street Blues. Did you ever hear of
No,
that?
okay.
It was a
No, I
big
don't know that
series
one.
here. She could have won an Emmy for her performance in that show, so she's pretty good. She has a lot of TV movies and stuff. I don't think she was in Lost too. If you ever watched the series Lost, she was in a few episodes of that. Um, so apparently Leanne says it's her best friend. So I guess they bonded over this, but we never see her again, and we never seen her before. But whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
well, Leanne says that like Pam is her best friend. To be fair, Pam doesn't say that about her.
that's true. Well, I guess Pam has no friends.
Yeah, well, she's got too many dramas.
Yeah. So she asked Pam to move in with her, like until she figures out her shit, but Pam never will. And yeah, Pam basically tells her drama. JR's wearing his safari jacket. Um, he says that Cliff is using the OLM to cause him trouble, which Maxwell's like, yeah, that's why we got him on board. Um, to stop you and your family.
Not just
And
him
then
though. Maxwell makes an effort to mention that like he's an intermediary. He can't really do anything about Cliff's appointment. He was just the go-between because the dudes that actually are in charge uh, are a little bit concerned with how much like with how much taking over the old independent oil peoples are doing. So it's like it is an attack on Ewing Oil because of Cliff, but it's more of like a regulatory body for a lot of the independents that are seen as being too money hungry and greedy.
right. So Pam and Leanne are there, and they kind of like walk past JR, like they didn't want to go over to him. Um, but they basically blow them off. He's like, "Do you want to introduce them to your friend?" They're like, "No." She's like, "No, not really." Like, "Do you want a drink?" No. And they just walk away. Um, and JR pops up at Leanne's house, and apparently they have a past, of course. Pam calls because I guess she's talking about moving in there. Um, Leanne says, "Come over in 5 minutes. My company is about to leave, trying to get rid of JR." Her name was Amber apparently when she was a hooker. We find out she was a hooker. She has a daughter that she's trying to support. He throws money her way. She rips it up. She's not in that life anymore, and she wants nothing to do with anything. He basically like threatens her daughter in a way, like or not her daughter, but like
He threatens her with child services.
yeah, like if you're a bad mother, you won't get your daughter or whatever, some shit. Pam calls Bobby to tell him she moved in with Leanne, which is a slap in the face to Bobby. He's just like hung up on her. He's like, whatever. Um, here's where the shady cop comes in. What's his name?
Uh, um, Actually, I don't know this one's name. I couldn't remember. I thought it was McSween at first, but then I realized it's this bigger fella. I don't remember his name.
Okay. Well, I put JR calls shady cop about Leanne. He wants to give the B treatment, whatever that is, which I guess we find out. He goes over, he arrests her for soliciting, which obviously she wasn't doing a damn thing. She says that. They go for a drive, they come back. She's like, "You're not going to arrest me." He's like, "No, I just wanted to let you know you have big friends in this town. It's just a threat, whatever." So annoying. Power trip shit. Um, I put Sue Ellen drinking music. Near, 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 near. So yeah, she's drinking while 6 or 7 months pregnant. JR comes in and dumps her bottle in the plant. The cop drops Leanne back off, forces her to get with um, Maxwell to convince she wants or he wants her to convinced Maxwell that she's in love with him. Um, promises
Yeah,
her
he wants
lots
to
of
set
money.
Maxwell up essentially. He just wants to he wants to set Maxwell up in order to like make him look bad. It's like a deal that he did with Leanne slash Amber with some senator in Houston. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a bar fight. Bobby and Ray fight somebody. They get this kid Kit involved. This is where Kit comes into play with Lucy, right? I think I remember this storyline.
Yeah.
Um, so they say that they'll meet or he'll meet at their place the next day. Jock finds out about the fight the next morning. He's like, "Oh man, I wish I was there." Kit comes over. Lucy lights up. Says to the next party they should invite him over. He's gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Leanne goes to the racquetball club, calls Pam, tells her to move in. She meets with Maxwell. That all happens quick. Leanne gets Maxwell over. Um, they open the curtain outside. There's a cameraman out there, like ready to take pictures. She and Maxwell kiss. They fall into Pam's room, and Pam's just like asleep in bed. And then there's this awesome picture that this man took. He's good. For the cover of the paper the next day. Miss Ellie's upset about it. Bobby sees it and attacks JR. He already knows he's on to his shit. Jock threatens JR. Like, if you find out you did this, I'll be pissed. Whatever. Another day at the Ewing table. Leanne makes plans to leave Dallas. Pam confronts her. Like, she doesn't know what happened, really. She apologized to Pam. She's like, I never would have did this, whatever. Pam
Yeah.
looks at the paper, sees the picture. Leanne's gone. We never see her again. Which is a shame because I really like that actress. JR
Yeah, I
has
think it
the
was just definitely a way to sort of up the ante and see the JR manipulation and stuff.
yeah. JR has a meeting with the dudes, the cartel. Um, Cliff didn't. Oh, they find out that Cliff didn't quit yet, so they don't even understand why they're there. Bobby heads to Pam. He says, "Come home." She says she's leaving Dallas. She's humiliated. She realizes JR was behind it finally because they're talking. He says wins if you run. Says I love you and just come home, and she does. So when they get home, everybody's happy to see her, except Sue Ellen. She calls her a disgrace to the family.
Well, with a
Whatever.
glass in her hand.
Which is funny because earlier when Pam was leaving, she like was mad about it. So I think she
Mm.
cares, but she's just drunk and she's a mess of a human. So that's just how it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, she's just a
Um,
mess.
and then JR gets home and they're like acting like everything, whatever. They don't say that Pam's there. Pam comes in. Or no, what does she say? I forget what happens, but I know at the end, she's like,
Oh, he's like,
um,
it's dinner time. Aren't you hungry? And he's like, yeah, let's all go inside. And Pam's like, well, I can't wait.
yeah, she's like, I don't know about him, but I'm starving. And
Yeah,
his look on his face is great. That's all I got. Anything else for this episode before you
yeah,
must
no,
leave?
no.
All right, we'll wrap this episode up. Thanks for joining Queers and Soaps for today. Subscribe, like, and comment on anything, whatever we're doing. If you want us to do other things, we will. Let us know. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.